I am now gonna be doing a tier list where I don't think anyone has really done yet ever, which is gonna be should you pull for this unit? Like a investment value perspective in terms of a stellar jade, right? Should you pull for this unit going forward? Yep, and I'm just gonna jump right in. Okay, I really like the fact that this tier list is sorted by patch, so it's very easy. All right, it's very easy. I will only be looking at this from a E0 perspective. And if you want to pull for idlers, maybe we do a separate tier list. But this is only for your E0 perspective. So, uh, I made a video about Sela. I don't think she's really gonna be that needed. But generally speaking, not that valuable as of this day and age, right? It's just really not that worth it. Actually, frankly speaking, just come here, right? Jing Yuan, I personally think it's probably gonna be somewhere here as well, because kind of the same category, right? Even if let's just say even if summon meta was gonna be a thing, right? I'm pretty sure MiHoYo will just introduce new DPS units for summon meta. You get what I'm saying? And if they introduce new units for summon meta, then you only want the support, sustain, and then your DPS, right? So in that sense, if they introduce a flashy new summon DPS, then Jingyuan probably won't be all that, considering that he's a literal 1.0 DPS. So I'll generally try to rank the DPS as low as possible, because for a DPS perspective, new is always gonna be kind of a lot better, right? So that's gonna be that. Luocha. I would say he honestly have a little bit of a higher value, just because comfort is very very nice for your sustain. There's basically only Luocha and Huan Huan for your abundance, or and Lingsha, and then Fu Xuan and Aventry. We just had a Aventry rerun, I believe. So I don't know when is the next rerun gonna be. But generally speaking, out of all of the limited sustains, Luocha probably has the least value of all of them. But if you're looking to speed run through the endgame content, I think sustain is gonna be quite important. So maybe a little bit higher value compared to a DPS, a 1.0 DPS. But generally speaking, I really don't think you need a pull for Luocha, right? And then who else is gonna be? Where is? Oh. Probably at this point, I would say pull for fun, because DOT has not gotten it up. It's kind of like running on Windows 10 for the past 1 year. Surely we're gonna get a DOT update very very soon. There's gonna be a patch dedicated to DOT. It's gonna be a DOT patch. It's gonna be great. We're gonna have DOT supports. We're gonna have DOT sustains, and Kafka being the ability to implode and explode and trigger DOT. I think that's gonna make her an excellent goddamn unit, right? So generally speaking, I think you can kind of pull fun, especially if you really like the DOT archetype. And it's not to say that DOT is completely unknowable. We literally just did the unknowable domain at Conundrum 6 with a pure DOT team. So I think DOT Kafka is still really not too shabby, right? Not too shabby. Especially if you find DOT fun, I think putting on for it is gonna be completely fine. Silver Wolf, I would say you don't need to pull for Silver Wolf, just because of the variety of units we have gotten nowadays. We have a lot of different units that can force this weakness, especially being Super Break as a archetype as strong as it is. The usage requirement for weakness implant is really just not that high. But that being said, for very specific single target bosses, so for example, even against Hule, I feel like Phil is really not that bad, because it's a single target. If she implants Quantum, she can deal quite a decent chunk of toughness bar damage by herself. So it can still be quite decent. But I would say it's still not that valuable, especially if it's between Sylph or a Super Break or like the brand new 2.0 DPS, which every single DPS so far has been able to ignore toughness or just straight up just ignore everything. Then Sylph is gonna be not that important. Alright, but generally speaking, I really don't think it's gonna be that worth it. Blade. Okay, frankly speaking, I would like Blade is also a pool fun. I think Blade is not unusable. I think it's kind of like for fun. In considering the fact that he is the only unit in his archetype that can, still play. I'm not just talking about like, like MOC or like whatever. Sorry. The fact that he's the only unit that can kind of synergize with this HP draining thing, I think it makes him pretty unique. So if ever there's gonna be a case where MiHoYo wants to explore something new, Blade will be where they're gonna start. Right? He is gonna be the pioneer. He's an Unk. He's a pioneer generation of the HB DPS. So if there's gonna be a thing, maybe we could see some potential. So for example, Jade already functions pretty decently with Blade, and we see more support with Blade. I think he will not be that bad. And if you find the whole mechanic of getting hit, counter damage, all that kind of stuff being pretty fun, and the fact that he's almost unkillable, I think you can consider putting him for fun. Just know that it is gonna be not too high of a priority. All right, cool. Unfortunately, I don't think I need to say too much. E0 deal nowadays, womp womp. Genuinely, multipliers are too low, too much requirements. E2 to be super good. At E0 is just really not all that. Too many things just power with him. I think you can really much essentially just kind of run away, right? I think that don't really. All right, Fu Xuan, in my opinion, is gonna be our first Kenpu. She is still a pretty comfortable sustain. Damage mitigation, damage sharing, 12% crit rate, especially if you're a new player. I think this is gonna be our very, very nice option in terms of sustain. In fact, if you compare Fu Xuan and Aventurine, there could be maybe some options where Fu Xuan might even just sustain better than Aventurine, right? Generally speaking, a excellent comfort comfort light cone. What am I even saying? Comfort character. Not to mention, 12% crit rate could be very, very useful for pretty much any of our crit DPS, right? You can kind of just run her, install her in, making sure that your team is staying alive. Fu Xuan is going to be one of, if not the best units that can make sure that you can do that. Although Aventurine can also be very, very nice, the shield is a little bit thin, and if your units ever gets damaged, it's kind of jovered, right? Because you can't heal at all, whereas Fu Xuan has a little bit of heal here and there. So I think Fu Xuan is going to be our first Kenpu. That being said, you also want to kind of take note into consideration of where her environment is going to be, right? If you're up against like a super big AoE hit that just hits your entire target for like 10 billion damage, she's just gonna get one shot, right? So be a little bit wary. Try to not to get yourself into those kind of situations. You will still prefer shooters, but she's gonna be our first Kenpo in my current opinion. All right, next. I think it is what it is. Jing Liu is just not doing too good, not really too. I think I'm not sure if you guys have started to see a pattern here. All of our very traditional DPS units that don't really have a lot of mechanics that can synergize with our other units team, because they are basically they are the foundation of an archetype. So if the foundation of the archetype is really pretty weak, it's hard to make them go even better. And Jing Liu being one of them. So just like any other DPS, for Ceiling is basically more or less that. Maybe we could see some potential usage where we can convert any excess crit rate to more crit damage, but it doesn't fundamentally change the weakness of a kid, which is essentially the ultimate uptime, the energy rotations, and she losing the buff. It's just really not that great at this current moment at E0. So I would say same for Ice DPS in the future would be good, because keep in mind it has been a very, 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 very long time since we've gotten Ice DPS, by the way, and we got teased with 5-star Herda. So just judging by that, I feel like an Ice DPS could be coming in the future, and for that reason, I can't really recommend everyone play for Jing Liu, right? It is what it is. Alright, Tobes. Kenpu. Tobes, if you want to boo her, honestly, frankly speaking, is gonna be pretty decent. Keep in mind though, Tobes, she is not just specifically for the follow-up team comp, because she could technically also work for the summon meta. Now, I have no idea what the summon meta is going to be like as of this time of recording this video, but in the future, Nambi can theoretically still go into a summon meta where if you want to use your Han March 7 with Face Shell, you could still run Tobes with that one unit. Also, 50% follow-up damage vulnerability is very, very strong for pretty much any of our follow-up damage kit, right? So she can work very, very nicely. I would say dropping her in the Kenpu portion is going to be nice, but just keep in mind that if we are going to be using her specifically for just follow-up units, know that Han March 7 is going to be a pretty decent alternative, so which means that her value is not going to be that high for a unit that is, as she is. Back then, before Han March 7, she was the best follow-up unit, bar none, because 50% vulnerability is just so crazy, and if you get any of our items or like, it just makes it even crazier, right? So I would say it's going to be our second Kenpu unit. I would say Argenti is a don't need to pull. just because his performance is very, very nice in pure fiction. But the reason why you wouldn't really want to pull for him is because Herda and Himeko exists, and if you even have a single to copy, it's gonna make your life a lot easier. That being said, his mechanic is honestly, in my opinion, more interactive with team archetypes than these 4 units. Because if we have any units in the future that can buff our energy by a lot, we do gain a much higher uptime by Argenti. One of Argenti's biggest weakness, in my opinion, I feel like it's gonna be because of the inability to charge his ultimate fast enough when you're up against a scenario where there's only 1 or 2 enemies. But if we can fix this energy problem, so even if you're up against a single or dual target, you can't really charge your energy fast enough of your skill, then it wouldn't be that big of a problem because then you can still cast your enhanced ultimate quite frequently, right? So I feel like there is a little bit more wriggle room, but I would say you still don't really need to prove for him because if you think about pure vision, it's fine. You have all the pure vision beasts all there, and pure vision, frankly speaking, is not that hard of a mode that you dedicatedly want to spend your strategies on, right? So that's gonna be my opinion for Argenti. Oh! Somewhere here. I would say Huan Huan is gonna be the camp pool, but not a must pool, just because we haven't got a archetype that makes Huan Huan best in slot. I've said this in my Tierlist video as well. Aircron prefers Aventurine, follow-up team prefers Aventurine, Break team prefers Lingsha, only Yunli team prefers Huan Huan. And counter team as of this moment, probably not as popular compared to Super Break as well as follow-up, right? So I would say if we see more energy units in the future that can make use of, percentage max energy, I think Huan Huan is going to be a very nice pick. So tip top of the camp, in my opinion, if between Fuxi and Huan Huan, I probably would prioritize a little bit more on Huan Huan. But I just want to say, for sustained capabilities, especially for crazy difficult domains such as the unknowledgeable domain in the brand new SU, Huan Huan's sustain is a little bit uncomfortable because she doesn't have shields or she doesn't have damage mitigation. So if enemies do a very strong one single target attack, you're gonna get sniped, and Huan Huan can't do shit. This is an unfortunate situation for pretty much any abundance unit. You don't have any shields, you don't have damage mitigation. So if you do face a single target burst damage, Huan Huan will have problems definitely. Or you can pull for E2, then sure, right? In my opinion, I think she's gonna be above Fuxi a little bit in terms of the Kenpu category. Doctor. Oh, all right. Boom. I don't really think there's too much to be said over here. Super Break is gonna be a team that will be with us for a long time, whether you like it or not. You don't like it, there's Harmony MC, completely free. Harmony MC Ramen Gallagher basically already completes a team. It's basically complete. And then you just run pretty much almost any break DPS, you're gonna be making them a very, very solid foundation as long as they're going to be weak to that specific element. Going forward, we just got Wrap Up, which works perfectly with Rame. And in 2.7, if we get more break supports, I think Rame is always going to be there. I think Rame is pretty much going to be the unit of our time. Hoyo just absolutely loves break teams at this current moment. And if you ever get a rerun, definitely consider picking her up. But if you have her in your inventory, do consider raising her because she is going to be extremely, extremely strong just because of the landscape that we have right now, right? So, this is honestly, I'm gonna give it about. I don't know why ratio is still at like fucking tier 0.5. It just doesn't fucking make sense to me. Don't really need to pull him. Okay, if I were to arrange. Okay, for the runaway, in no particular order. There's no, it's just runaway, right? There's no order. But for ratio, same shit. It's just a little bit dated. Follow-up difficulty is nice, but multipliers wise, just a little bit rough. Just a little bit rough. Follow-up attacks doesn't really synergize well with Topaz. Doesn't really synergize with Facial. Not really doesn't synergize well. But there are more units that can synergize better. For Bobbin, Facial, Topaz, Aventurine especially. If you want to run a hyper carry ratio, you could. But the performance is not going to be anywhere near compared to any of our other units like Break and Follow-up. Or in the future, if we get a summon meta, then Daughter ratio also cannot get any benefits from a summon meta, right? So I would still run him. Considering that he is a free unit though, if you have him way back in the days, raising him up would definitely be a right choice. But so this is an age you need to pull him. I would not recommend pulling for him. For a free unit, excellent. For a pull unit, you don't really need him. Right? Cool. Our rest rank Black Swan same tier as Kafka. I feel like these two are basically the happy meal. They go together. It's just like what I said in the tier list. But that being said, one thing about Black Swan that in my opinion places her below Kafka is that your Arcana stacks will become a problem when it comes to stacking on if the enemies move very fast. As you guys have seen from Hule, right? Hule moves so goddamn quickly that you can't really have enough time to stack on your Arcana or even your defense down from Black Swan's abilities or even her ultimate, right? She just expires so quickly, which can be very, very annoying. Whereas for Kafka, you can still kind of trigger any forms of DOT in the future. So if we get stronger DOTs or any sort of supports that can make DOT last permanently, I think that will make them very, very nice. But of this current moment, I think like Black Swan is just going to be... At this point, you can pull fun. If you want to pull DOT, definitely consider pulling for both Kafka and Black Swan. If you want to use Black Swan as a debuffer, I really would not recommend it at E0. You're better off with Pella. You can use Sailwolf. You can use Jiao Chiu for the vulnerability. So I really wouldn't recommend just for the 20% defense down. The vulnerability from the ultimate is also during the enemy's turn, so it cannot be extremely comfortable as well, right? So that's gonna be me. Okay. Sparkle. Frankly speaking, out of here. Tip top of pool for fun. And the reason why I'm not giving her at a tip top of camp pool is because theoretically speaking, if we were to get another hypercarry support, it might be a little bit rough for her. Alright. And also at this current moment, we already have a very strong hypercarry support. That is Bobbin. Bobbin basically does everything Sparkle does, but way better because it's 3 different action value advances instead of 1. And this one from Sparkle is only 50%, right? You could consider getting E2 for a 24% defense down, but that's going to be E2, different from E0. So I would say if you want to pull, you can consider pulling her just for... I don't even know who you can use Sparkle exclusively. Maybe you can run like a Sparkle, Silver Wolf, Qingque, like Mono Quantum Implant team, right? Maybe that could work. But Sparkle, Bobbin, Qingyun was like one of the teams that I used for every single 0-0 team form that I used for the Kafka side. So Sparkle, Bobbin, and Qingyun was a very nice team. Or even Sparkle, Bobbin, Running, right? So if you want to do some goofy, fun 0 cycles, I think Sparkle is going to be an excellent choice, especially with the skill points and all that kind of stuff. So that's going to be that. Definitely not a very high priority, especially E0. So that's going to be for me. Robin as well, E2. Honestly, I'll just pick Robin. Boom. This done. All right. At this point, probably here. Actually, you know what? Maybe here. Around the same tier as Blade, I would say. Slightly around the same ballpark as DOT. The reason why is because Acheron is not really that strong unless you have Jiao Qiu. If you have Jiao Qiu, it makes Acheron a lot stronger. But in a vacuum, for a singular unit, I don't think she's that worth. Because you are essentially going to be running like a Pella plus something plus a sustain. Without Jiao Qiu, Acheron can't really compete with our brand new Fei Xiao or whatever our 3.0 DPS is going to be. I would say that Acheron, if you can get her debuffs up, she's still a very nice unit to have. But between Acheron and Fei Xiao's multiplier just outperforms her by quite a significant margin. And if you already have a Bobbin, between Acheron and Fei Xiao, I would fix Fei Xiao to Bobbin instead of Acheron to Bobbin, just because Fei Xiao synergizes with Bobbin a lot more. So I think Acheron at this point is going to be proof of fun at E0. If you want to get her E2, I'll probably jump up right here. By E0, I'm just going to drop her around. Oh, you know what? I'll just drop it here, right? In case they're around the same tier, right? It's a kind of a proof of fun category, but it's around the same category, right? So that is going to be this, in my opinion. I feel free to go to war, but hey, it is what it is. All right. Yep, okay, fine. I think Avenger is going to be a must pull. I think out of all of the limited sustain now, he is the most comfortable. Not because of his synergy with Robin, but the fact that you can quote-unquote counter enemies with high speed, such as Hule, it makes it very comfortable for him to sustain high pressure scenarios. Or specifically environments like Unknowledgeable Domain. Avenging was a godsend for Unknowledgeable Domain. She was so good. All the energy buffs, in the infinite follow-ups, I basically ran it with DOT. The sustain was quite literally so much stronger compared to Huan Huan because the shield increases our effective max HP and it almost at a 100% permanent refresh. And if you want to use a skill, then the shield is basically almost unbroken. I would say that if you don't run it with follow-up, you can still pretty much run it with any single team as long as the enemy moves very quickly, or if you're getting hit a lot, or any forms of like energy generation bars from your SU to spam his ultimates, get your bars, he is gonna be him. So out of all of the sustains right now, Aventurine probably has the highest sustain value when it comes to keeping your team alive. That being said, the caveat is he does not work at all with Jingliu and Bleed because their health drain is not covered by the shield. So you are going to be in a bit of a pickle if you're running Aventurine with Jingliu or Blade. But that is a very, very, very specific scenario. Alright, cool. I would say you can pull for. I would say you can. It's either low can pull or high pull for fun. Okay, you know what? Low can pull. Boot Hill, like Firefly, has the ability to implant weakness. So you could use in the brute force a lot of the physical weak stages. The reason why it's not higher is because pocket trick shot is not very comfy. If you don't get a pocket trick shots in time, you don't really know how to play Boot Hill and how to abuse his pocket trick shots, his damage is gonna fall off by quite a bit. And frankly speaking, his speed tuning is annoying. A proper Boot Hill speed tune team with like 4-piece Ego, Rame, how many MC dance is very, very annoying. And I think the majority of the casual player base, you guys might not even think about doing all this. And if you want to just do like a very chill unit that just go for it and do whatever the fuck he wants to do, I think he can get the job done. You can pull for him just because he's part of the break team, and break team nowadays is just completely broken. Also, if we do get exo toughness, it will make him getting pocket trick shot a lot easier, which is why I'm just gonna bump him above pool for fun, right? Any sort of exo toughness, I think Buhyo is gonna benefit just because he can stack on the 3 stacks a lot easier. Alright, so yep, can pull. Alright. I don't give a fuck. If there is one unit in the entire fucking game that you have to pull, it is gonna be Bubbin. Frankly speaking, if MiHoYo didn't suck Super Break's dick so much, Robin would be miles ahead of Rami. It's just that MiHoYo gave Super Break so many buffs that Rami and Bubbin is around the same category now. Because Break teams just have a lot. It's like they're privileged. They're on the white list. They go into the NFT early, right? So Rami has a very, very good privilege from MiHoYo. Dawe loves Super Break. Dawe, every waking moment, Dawe is saying, Chat, how do we make Super Break great again? How do we make Super Break great again, chat? And that's why they ask his team every single day, right? So that's why Rami is like heavily boosted by the amount of bars and everything. But that aside, I feel that Robin is absolutely the unit of all time. Yo, Luva got to the prime, right? Works with follow-up, works with DOT, works with hyper carry, works with Akron, works with Yingli, works with pretty much every single one of our DPS, probably minus the exception of break teams, in which that case you want to run Rami instead, right? Besides that, Getter, D1 unit. If I can make a separate tier list, I would, but unfortunately, Hoyo just suck in Rami's dick so much, they're gonna be the same tier, right? But yep, must pull. Alright. I would put Firefly here. I'm gonna get fucking destroyed by Gaja Smack. But here's the thing. Casual player base, they don't give a fuck about speed tuning. They don't give a fuck about getting the optimum value. They don't give a fuck about 0 seconds. They just want a unit that can get on with their lives and move on and go home and bang their girlfriends and touch grass. So if that is gonna be the case, I think Firefly is the definition of a auto unit. Fire implant weakness. If we were to get a fire break support in the future, it is gonna be the perfect synergy. We have Ling Shao, we have Gallagher, we have Rami to split in. Firefly implant weakness, you can basically just run this team anywhere, everywhere, no questions asked. It's gonna get the job done. Is it gonna be the absolute highest possible damage with extra toughness? Probably not, because Firefly does not really have any interaction with additional breaks, unlike Boot Hill or Rapper. But I think when it comes to quality of life, comfort, the effect rest, herself being like self-sustaining, I think there's a reason why MiHoYo showed the fuck of this character for like 3 patches straight, right? So Firefly, in my opinion, is gonna be a very, very strong Kenpu just for the general population of the player base, right? Because we are crafting this for the general population of the player base, right? Cool. Alright, pool of fun. I would say you can improve Jade for fun. I feel like Jade is pretty fun, right? If you run a runner in Pure Fiction, I think she's pretty fun. One of, if not the best units in Pure Fiction. Synergizes very, very well with Blade. If you want to run an MOC, maybe not so much. You need an E1. Apoc Shadows, I don't really know. I didn't really play that much, but I think she's a pretty fun unit. Also, me personally, the whole Dom Mummy type might not be, you know, a little bit too much personally. But I think she's still a pretty fun unit. I would just get her if you really want to get her. Just destroy Pure Fiction. She's always going to destroy Pure Fiction, right? So I think you guys can just pull fun. Alright, cool. But more the bang. Alright. I'll put him somewhere here. Jiao Qiu is a... Actually, you know what? Maybe here. Jiao Qiu is a very interesting unit. I still personally believe he is an Aircron bot. He's Aircron slave. Best in slot only in Aircron. Keep in mind the word is best in slot. But he can be used with different teams. You can use him with Yunli. You can use him with Argenti. You can use him with DOT. It's just that they have better options. For Argenti, Babin. For Yunli, Babin. For DOT, Babin. So unfortunately, because there is a better alternative, Jiao Qiu might not be that important. But if you are an Aircron player, and I'm guessing a lot of players of here, you guys starting 2.0, you got Aircron. Jiao Qiu is an excellent upgrade to Aircron team point as a whole, especially in Pure Fiction or even against units that move very, very fast. I think Jiao Qiu's debuff allows Aircron to stack on very, very quickly. But if you don't have Aircron, I would say that Jiao Qiu might not be that important. Who knows what happens in the future though, right? Because fundamentally, he's kind of like a support. 50% vulnerability with up to 65% ultimate damage vulnerability. I think that's going to be very nice. In the future, we have more units that can make use of this ultimate damage vulnerability, or once debuffs, he can kind of be an archetype. So I would say that he is a extremely... Actually, you know what? Fuck it. I'll drop him somewhere like this. Yeah. You stick him with Aircron, essentially, right? If you don't have Aircron, I really don't think he's that important. You're better off just spending your resources somewhere else, right? Aircron support, Aircron simp. He's a tier 3 sub to Aircron, right? Excellent. Okay. Yunli, in my opinion, is going to be a very solid Kenpu. Actually, you know what? In fact, even higher than Firefly. Yunli is the only unit that I have not put... Actually, you know what? Fuck it. Tip top of Kenpu. Is the only unit that I kind of regret not pulling, because she's just that versatile. She can function very easily. She's one of the few units nowadays that still function with 4-star Ting Yun. Best in slot for Huan Huan. So if you put Huan Huan, Ting Yun is going to be Babin. And also, you know, Babin works exceptionally well with Yunli. Counter mechanic as a whole, I think if you guys have Yunli, you would have seen how she performs against Hule. Diabolical. Because Hule's are so fucking fast. You trigger so many of the counters, and her damage multiplied by itself is just a very complete unit, right? Also, extremely comfortable when it comes to a DPS, not as squishy compared to our other DPS. So I think if you guys can pull Yunli, I think he's gonna be an excellent choice, right? Cool. Yep. Actually, okay, maybe like this. Yeah, maybe like this. Yeah, I feel like maybe just smidge below the sustain, right? Because at the end of the day, it's a DPS. I'm just a little bit more conservative for DPS, because DPS getting power crap is nothing new at this point, right? So maybe we have a Yunli's mom, and then just power creep Yunli. So probably something like this. Okay. As of this current moment, I am just hella fucking biased because she's my wife. I'll give it to Maspu, even though she's a DPS. Number one, I'm biased because I love facial, I love the design, I love the gym mommy, all that kind of stuff, and she gave me super good luck. She is the only unit in my honkaistarrail existence that I didn't lose a single 50 for E6S5 and E2S1. Didn't lose a single one, by the way. All 10, 50, all want. So I have a huge bias for Facer. That being said, currently she is the strongest DPS. But we all know what happened. Scylla was the strongest. Jingliu was the strongest. Aircron was the strongest. And now Facer is the strongest. So I don't know what's gonna happen in the next 4 months, next 5 months. But if you pull her now, her value is gonna be there. 100%. Especially if you have Bubbin, right? Her value is definitely gonna be there. If you don't have Bubbin, you can still make her work with your Han March 7, which is a free unit, by the way. Han March 7, Topaz, Aventurine, Mose, all that kind of stuff. You can still gonna make it work. Maybe not as crazy as if you got her with Bubbin, but they'll be biased. Take it with a pinch of salt. Maybe objectively, probably somewhere in the Kenpu section. But yep, that's pretty much it. All right. Now, for Lingsha, I'm going to do this. Not because she's worse, but it's because she has a substitute. That is Galachet. She has a 4-star Galachet. If there was no such thing as a 4-star Galachet, she will be tip-top, above Huan Huan. But because Galachet is a unit, especially the versatility of Galachet, at E0 is really not that important to pull for a E0 Lingsha. So it is what it is. But if you don't have an E6 Galachet, an E0 Lingsha is technically easier to get than an E6 Galachet. And also, the confidence, the bunny damage, it is not to be underestimated as well. But between Huan Huan, Fu Xuan, and Lingsha, in my opinion, has probably the lowest of the 3 sustain. Not because she's the weakest, but just because she has a 4-star substitute, personally. Drop down to 2 of 1, E1 Pilt. Alright, Sarah hates Lingsha. Okay, done. I'm not really. Alright, one last unit is going to be Rappa. Rappa, I'll just replace with Balu. I'll just drop around the same category as Firefly, as well as maybe a smidge more than Firefly. So as of this moment, if you do not have Firefly and you do not have Rappa, who should you pull? I will pull for Rappa over Firefly. The reason why is because, number one, I mentioned before in all my previous 2 videos, the odds of Rappa not being on element is quite rare. Because there's 2 sides of endgame, it's quite likely you're going to be getting an imaginary or a fire weakness. Secondly, she scales better with Exo Toughness. And if Exo Toughness does come out, she does gain a higher edge compared to Firefly when you do Maze of this mechanic, right? So for that reasons, Rappa is going to be at around this category in the Kenpu section. And I think that will pretty much wrap up all of our units, right? Did I miss anyone? Alright, chat. With that, we have come to the end of my pool value tier list for honkaistarrail, all of them at E0, right? I feel like this is definitely subjective take. I'm not sure if I'm going to get cancelled by the Jingyuan mains again for the 10,000 million time, or if I'm going to get destroyed by the Aircron mains for leaving her in the pool of fun here. But yeah, feel free to leave the comments down in the thoughts below. Word of the day is going to be worth. Join Twitch, join YouTube, join Discord. All the best for catch up pools. I'll see you guys next time.